medieval Christendom wasn't invaded. There space aliens didn't land. It wasn't an outside force. Like, Christendom did this to itself. Christendom did modernity. No one else did it.
Before we get to our clip, do us a favor and click subscribe and that bell button below. 2/3 of people who watch us regularly aren't yet subscribed, and it really supports the channel when you do subscribe. It's free, costs nothing, and I really appreciate it.
This is very speculative. I don't know, but I think that history, church history in particular, moves in these big cycles of corruption and reform, and that the corruption, like what emerges out of the period of corruption is at a higher level than what went into the period of corruption. Like there's a sort of, sometimes people will say things like the corruption of the best is the worst, that there's as the church sort of ascends through history, there are openings for greater levels of corruption, within it. And it succumbs to that. And then the eventual reform out of it is now, it's like if you're an alcoholic or something, and then you reform out of it, and you've now defeated alcohol. Do you know what I mean? Like you can become higher.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah, but do institutions conquer things? Because I get how it works on an individual level. Like, because the individual now knows the evil that he doesn't wish to go back to. But a church in 1,000 years from now,
but I think
didn't exist. Now they just have history or structures put in place.
I think modernity. I think the modern world is corrupt is the corruption of the church. I mean,
what does modernity mean?
Well, I mean, we're witnessing the end of it. So the modern world, the end of Christendom. Christendom is replaced with the modern world, right? The modern world has many different facets to it that we could describe it with,
and that's what's meant by modernity.
But I mean, you could describe it you could just try to describe it with secularity. You could try to describe it with scientific arguments. You could try to describe it with the way states work. I mean, there's many different ways to describe it, but one thing we know is it's not Christendom, right? And but it didn't come from anywhere else but Christendom. What I mean is, like, medieval Christendom wasn't invaded. There space aliens didn't land. It wasn't an outside force. Like, Christendom did this to itself. Christendom did modernity. No one else did it. And so it's a period of corruption in the church. Right?
Modernity is a period of corruption, that was birthed by the church.
Birthed by the church. I mean, the church understood in the broadest sense, right? Of the civilization, not. I'm not talking about the episcopal hierarchy or something. I'm talking about the civilizational sense.
Okay.
And so the reform out of modernity is, I mean, I'm hopeful that eventually that will be the reform exactly of the church. I mean, and in 1,000 years, if the world's still here, there'll be a looking back at this period as a period of very profound corruption within Christendom, right? Like, so I think that's a possible trajectory. It's very speculative, of course. Who knows? But I think that's a possible way that this plays out in the long run.